While working on my sofa table, I keep realizing that different aspects of its construction would be valuable material in putting together a video. I wanted to discuss real quick how I attach the tabletops to the bases. What I do is just using a router. I use it mounted into its fixed base. I route a small groove every so often around the inside of the apron and then use what I call table buttons. I believe that might even be what they're called in general. But what this does is it goes into that groove and then a screw is put up through that into the bottom of your tabletop. What that allows is expansion and contraction in the tabletop without causing it to cup or bow in any direction. So let's take a closer look at some of those details. Once again, to achieve the groove, I use a router, and mine is mounted in a fixed base and using a rabbeting bit. This is a 3/8 inch rabbeting bit which has the bearing that rides on the inside of the apron. Its depth is set according to your table buttons. These are made from hardwood. This one's a piece of maple, and I cut this groove out, that rabbet out, on the table saw using a dado blade. You could also do this without a dado blade on the table saw or do it on a bandsaw. Other thing I do is drill a countersink and a pilot hole to where this doesn't split. A hardwood will split very easily, just like when you're splitting firewood, if you do not allow for the shank of the screw. With your locations marked out, all you end up doing is, with your bit adjusted to the right depth, is you just come in and make a pass through right in the area where you need to put your table button. Then that table button once again has a rabbet cut into it which goes into that groove. You need to cut your rabbet into your little table buttons to where they're slightly undersized of the rabbeting bit that you're using. And then also the other thing is too is that each table button is mounted a little bit lower than the top of the apron, and once again that allows you to be able to pull up. If it was a little bit thicker, you would end up with a gap between your apron and the underside of your table. With all the routing done to mount the tabletop, I'll now move to the lower shelf. I have the rails marked at one on each end and one in the middle on both rails. The other thing I want to comment on is when I'm doing routing, I always make sure I wear a respirator, safety goggles, not glasses, and some sort of hearing protection. A router is a pretty unpleasant tool in all three of those categories, and I advise you to wear them all if you have them.
So this part is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just using the router in the fixed base with the rabbeting bit to route the grooves, and each one of the little routed out areas is about 2.5–3 inches long. Just need to be wider than the little buttons you use to attach the top.
Well, as you can see, I went ahead and got the base painted. And if you'd like to see that process of applying a milk paint with an oil finish over top to deepen its color, you can find that video on my channel or click the link in the description. The next step is going to be to get the top into position to where we can go ahead and mount it. You're going to do so by measuring around the edges and getting it in place as per your design. Then once it's clamped into place, I need to go underneath and drill some pilot holes for the screws.
Just make sure you take care not to drill through the top of your table, and also not to over tighten your screw and strip out the hole.
Building this table turned out to be a very enjoyable project for me to work on, and I hope a helpful video series for all of you out there. With its cherry top, shelf, simple black base, and a drawer for storage, I feel like it is a piece that would work in many people's homes, so feel free to copy it or alter its design. And if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try my best to get back to you. If I don't get back to you in the comments, it may be because I'm saving the reply for the next Craftsman's Corner video. So with all that said, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
And if you'd like to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button and you will get updates when I post future uploads.